tough weekend for the foot girls, Lucy. Last weekend, you were at Penn State. I was at Notre Dame. How we doing? It's Thursday. Well, it's Friday. Who knows what day it is, honestly.
The days go by really slow when you can't score points. You don't know what day it is. You don't know what time it is. You don't know what the reason for everything is.
The meaning of life?
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. I don't think there is one.
Definitely couldn't be.
Eat at Arby's.
There's no purpose behind a world where Brian Ferentz is a Power 5 offensive coordinator. There's none.
So I guess we'll do a little bit of a Week 4 recap. We had one of the better college football slates, but I'm curious if you had a similar reaction to me in terms of some of these games being a little disappointing.
I guess I was a little disappointed now that you think of it. I think I was kind of waiting for that one moment that was like, not like Notre Dame, Ohio State, but it felt like there was a chance for a really big upset in there, and we didn't get it. And I honestly was sitting thinking about it the other day. I'm like, we really haven't had that moment outside of, we want to say Colorado TCU week 1, but I don't even really think that counts because it's week 1. We haven't had that crazy upset loss yet. Maybe it's this weekend. I don't know.
I feel like Mississippi beating Alabama would have delivered that moment, but Saban pulled it off again. I think it's their 8th win in a row against Mississippi, and you had to think like this was the year Ole Miss was gonna Lane Kiffin was doing all the trolling. He was calling out Alabama's defensive coordinator. Alabama's got QB struggles. Like, this is the year. He's got to get it. It's his 4th year there. He's going to do it this year. And despite the fact that Alabama just was kicking a ton of field goals and had really just bizarre offensive play again in the first half, couldn't get it done.
I wasn't surprised because I don't trust Lane Kiffin to beat Nick Saban. It hasn't happened.
It's never happened.
I don't think it's ever going to happen. I'm still not 1,000% in on this Alabama team. I think their offensive line is an issue. I thought Jalen Milroe played well. I don't think quarterback's the problem. I think it's O-line. It's weird because I'm so bummed out because it feels like a year where Alabama's not very good, but the entire, and not very good by that, I mean they're not the best
Alabama
team in college football. Yeah. And the SEC West really doesn't seem to have much competition there for someone who could actually beat them. It's possible, but it really doesn't feel like a year where there's another, okay, well, we know LSU is better because we don't. LSU kept it close against Arkansas this weekend. Like, we don't
really
know.
Close. That definitely flew under the radar, I think, in terms of results. But now we get to see LSU play Ole Miss, and we'll get to see, the transitive property and maybe figure out what will happen when Alabama plays LSU, because I think you're right. I think that's the only SEC West team that I'm definitely going to be watching that game to see what happens. I'm not sure if the rest of them make me that concerned for Alabama.
No, Texas A&M just lost their quarterback.
Yeah,
Arkansas,
huge bummer for them.
Who knows what's going on with Arkansas? That's a weird team. Mississippi
always.
State's out of the question. The SEC West is not good. It's not good. When we're like, hey, Hugh Freeze, be the guy for us, that's when we know we're in trouble. We are in a lot of trouble.
There was also, I was looking forward to the UCLA-Utah game, and it ended up being a defensive, just two powerhouse defense. UCLA ended up getting 9 rushing yards in this game, and Dante Moore, who's a true freshman, he's going to be really good, I think. But, their team did him no favors in this game. They were not really able to do anything until the very end of the game. So Utah wins that one. They have yet to play Cam Rising, and they look so good and have a great defense.
I'm always high on Utah. They're my pick to win the Pac-12 pretty much every single year. I understand your concerns with UCLA. However, I do need to point out that it's just a Big Ten team playing Big Ten football.
That is spot on, Lucy. There was also a defensive score in this game, so yeah.
They're ready.
Big Big Ten vibes for the future Big Ten West UCLA Bruins.
They're going to love road trips to Wisconsin. They're already fitting in perfect.
Speaking of Wisconsin, they lost to Washington State a couple weeks ago. Washington State in the Nobody Wants Us Bowl played Oregon State. We already talked about Washington State's head coach, Jack Dickert, calling out Lee Corso this weekend. I feel like the theme of week 4 was, as one of my friends put it, light elder abuse. Wherever you look, a little bit of making fun of old people this weekend.
I feel like Kirk Ferentz got away easy out of the old people we all yelled at. But yeah, it was weird with Ryan Day and Jake Dickert. It kind of feels like Dion has lit a little bit of a spark where people are like, I can talk shit a little more freely now.
I can say whatever I want.
I can say whatever I want. People are going to think I'm cool. Then Ryan Day does it like, that is not, no. That's enough from you, my guy.
I feel like, I mean, we should talk about Ryan Day, and we'll talk about Notre Dame and Ohio State because huge win for Ohio State. Now they have to play Penn State and Michigan. They're the only other two ranked teams on their schedule right now. And we know how they've looked against Michigan the last couple of years. So they definitely Ryan Day needed this.
Absolutely.
But I feel like he could have gotten away with what he said if he didn't say it so weirdly. The delivery was off.
Delivery was weird. It felt like something that maybe is a in the post-game presser, not so much as the right after the game. Also, side note, we've only played 2 bad halves. That's not true.
Yeah.
That's not true at all. You've played several bad halves against Michigan alone.
And the substance of what Lou Holtz said, I feel like I've talked about this on like 15 podcasts already this week, so we'll keep it brief. But I'm not like the biggest Lou Holtz fan. The substance of what he said, I thought was pretty fair. Like, Ohio State has looked like the less physical team against the Michigans and the Clemsons and the Georgias. And I don't know if beating Notre Dame on this final possession with only 10 men on the other side of the field really like proves that they are back to whatever the standard was like 3 or 4 years ago. But that will remain to be seen because they are a very good team, and I think they will win a lot of games.
I think the reason we saw such an overreaction from Ryan Day in that moment is I think people outside of the college football world and maybe even outside of the Ohio space don't realize how much his own fans hate him.
Oh, my God,
like,
yes.
Ohio State fans, you would think that guy has never won a game before. They hate him so much. He's not fighting against Lou Holtz. He's fighting against his own fan base.
Yeah, I mean, I think that if they lose to Michigan this year, like, he's hot seat. Yeah. He either will be fired or they will wait until something happens like early next season to fire him. Like, I do not feel like he's long for that role unless he beats Michigan this year. So I think this does help him, and maybe they give him a little bit more leeway if that happens, but like they need to beat Michigan this year. That is the thing that all Ohio State fans care about the most.
Michigan kept it kind of close against Rutgers for a little bit, which I feel like is a natural thing. People were freaking out, and I was like, look,
it's happened before.
That's how they get warmed up. Okay?
It'll happen again.
If they were to just blow Rutgers out, like to start off with, I'd be like, whoa, something's up here. Something might be wrong. They need to keep it close for a little bit.
I thought that Oregon and Colorado, I think you might have predicted a shootout. I think am I getting that wrong?
I predicted Colorado to cover.
Okay.
Bad call.
Close. Well, yeah.
But Oregon, I thought would win big.
Okay. Well, they did. They were up 35-0 at the half. I thought.
Been there.
Yeah.
Been there.
I thought this game was one that I also was like really looking forward to. And then after the first 2 Oregon offensive possessions, I was like, don't have to watch the rest of this one.
It was, I mean, I think that all of us, anyone who's like a close college football person, we all knew that was going to happen. So it was just a matter of time. It was just, okay, the second they play a team a little more talented than them with a tougher line, then, yeah, it all felt pretty natural. And I'm kind of excited about it because a buddy of mine texted me about it this weekend. He was like, I'm not anti-Deion. I'm anti-Colorado hype because we're not talking about how bad Alabama is because of it.
That's fair.
They're just getting away with it. And so they play USC this weekend. I kind of think it'll be more of the same. Also, it's a 10 a.m. kick. Crazy.
I welcome to the Big Ten.
Welcome.
Better start getting up at 7 a.m. and drinking spotted cows like the rest of us in the Midwest. It's actually disgusting, and that's why I didn't go to Wisconsin. Anyways, let's move on to the game you were at.
Oh, yeah, that game.
Iowa and Penn State. We actually have a game that we want to play.
We do have a game. So I already played this game with Jess. It wasn't very fun for me, but I think she had a good time. Taylor, are you ready for our first ever edition of Guess That Iowa Stat?
I am ready.
Do we have fanfare ready?
Do you have sad
In
music?
post.
In post. Great. Thanks, Taylor.
Sounds
okay,
so
so
good.
Lucy's going to ask you to guess a number based on an Iowa statistic. And then I think if you guess it right, you win. If you guess it wrong or you go over, you lose.
Okay.
And if you guess under, like, maybe you still win.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because it was still a good guess because all of them are bad.
If it's not the under, it's not Iowa, you know? All right, so we'll start off with an easy one. How many first downs did Iowa have?
I believe I heard you say this. 4.
Yes, correct. I only saw 2.
Insert fanfare.
All right. How many passing yards did Iowa have?
Can't be much. 45.
Under, it was 56.
Oh!
Didn't see most of those.
You get
Play it
fanfare
safe.
for that.
Play it safe.
All right.
It's like the price is right.
What was Iowa's time of possession?
Feels like Penn State had the ball the entire game.
Oh, trust me, I know.
I'm going to say 12 minutes.
Under 14 minutes and 33 seconds.
That's pretty bad.
You know what? That might actually be good for Iowa. All right, how many plays did Iowa run in 14 minutes?
Trying to think of what an average would be. I feel like an average would be about 70-ish plays. I'm going to say Iowa had about half of that, 35.
33.
Oh, he went over.
But right there.
So
Right
close,
there,
though.
right there.
So how many did Penn State have? Lucy?
How many did Penn State have? You have to guess.
95.
97. You're good at this game.
Nailed it. All right, ask me about the punt yards.
Oh, this one's so good. So, Torrey Taylor, player of the game, how many punt yards did he have?
I know it was a lot because I actually texted Dan that they had more 3-and-outs than first downs.
That's every game. That's not a big
So
deal.
I'm going to go with, and he is a great punter. Every punt is getting down inside the 10. When you said the punter's your favorite player, I was like, oh, she's overhyping
He's
it.
amazing.
He
She's
is
doing a
un-
bit.
he is
He's
unbelievable.
No, he's
literally
really good.
amazing.
I'm going to go really high for him, 250.
366.
No.
Isn't that crazy?
MVP.
When we were talking on the show earlier this week about players having a look in their eyes, I was like, Torrey Taylor, every time he goes out to punt, that guy has a look in his eyes. He is literally my favorite player. And I was telling all the Penn State fans around me, I was like, look, it would be even further if it weren't for this guy. And they were like, okay, be for real. And then they saw that guy punt. He is so great at what he does. So there's always a silver lining.
Is Penn State actually good this year?
I don't think that game. I do think Penn State is good. I think that game was more indicative of Iowa. Iowa had a couple tough breaks in the first quarter where Iowa was actually driving to start the game and looked really good. Fumbled. I didn't think it was a fumble. No one in the stadium thought it was a fumble except for the refs, so that was kind of a bummer. But Iowa did more to lose this game than Penn State did to win because it was close at half. It was 10-0. Iowa's defense, this is the story of my life, held up, played really, really well. But when you're out there for 45 minutes, naturally you're going to get tired and you're going to get worn down. And then Penn State just sort of ran over our line. But Penn State is good. But I think this game was more Iowa being bad than Penn State being good.
Okay. All right, 2 more games I want to briefly talk about before we move on to this upcoming weekend. FSU and Clemson. FSU's ranked, Clemson unranked, double unranked now because they have 2 losses to conference opponents, Duke and Florida State. Came down to the wire, Lucy. Clemson's kicker came back from like a job on Wall Street and missed a chip shot late. Sean McDonough made a joke about the writer's strike. This game had everything. I think this was probably the best early slate game of the weekend. Clemson is like now in no man's land. I saw their probability for winning out the rest of the season's like less than 10%, I think, based off Bill Connolly's model, I believe. But Florida State like sneaks another one through against an ACC team that like they maybe should have lost it. So does this make you feel better about your Florida State's overrated take?
I don't think they're like particularly overrated, but I know they have a loss in them. I'm waiting for the loss to happen. I think Clemson really exposed that Florida State, the talent isn't as far stretched as you thought, because I really thought, I said it on the show last week, I thought Florida State's talent was going to completely overwhelm Clemson. That was not the case. They have a loss in them. I know they do. But something about this game I wanted to talk about was Dabo came out after and was like, we were 3-4 plays away from being undefeated. You lost to Duke 28-7.
Well, three of the plays were them like fumbling in the red zone when they could have scored a touchdown. So he's not like entirely wrong about that, but I'd say maybe like 8 plays.
I was like,
maybe like 8 plays.
I would give me 7 to 10. Give me that range.
Yeah.
You were not 3 plays away.
It's not 3. I think Clemson's a really talented team and a good team, but I think they are being coached badly and they are losing games because of it.
It's one of those things where I sit here as an Iowa fan, knowing what I go through every day, and I can see what's about to happen to Clemson. They're about to be where I'm at.
Oh, no, that's terrible.
Good luck.
Okay, really quickly, Northwestern and Minnesota, one of the funniest games of the weekend. 2 really terrible teams. Northwestern finally won a game in the United States by coming back down 21 points to Minnesota. Minnesota blew a 3-touchdown lead. It was so exciting, Lucy. Northwestern had a 2-minute, 80-yard drive at the end of the game. Just absolutely amazing. And now Penn State's playing at Northwestern, and one of the funniest things that I've ever seen is James Franklin saying that they're practicing without any music pumping into their practice to get ready for the atmosphere in Evanston, Illinois.
If you've ever been to a game there, you know that's incredibly accurate. Honestly, they should just play their own fight song because there's going to be so many Penn State fans there.
It's very bleak.
I think something we need to bring up because it's disgusting. You need to tell your children about it now. You need to prepare yourself for it. Northwestern beating Minnesota. Most likely, Iowa will be in the Big Ten championship game this year. It's Iowa or Wisconsin. Though you don't have any other options. Good luck. Shield your eyes.
Unfortunately, week 5, not as many great ranked games as week 4. However, Friday has a pretty good slate. If you're watching Friday night, you have number
Always
10 Utah versus number 19 Oregon State. Oregon State was the loser of the Nobody Wants Us Bowl, which was a conference game. So they're trying to not go 0-2 in the Pac-12. But Utah, like we mentioned, has been really, really good. So I think we're both picking Utah in this one.
Yeah, I'm picking Utah, but this has energy where they could totally lose. I feel like we're about to start the cycle that we always know of the Pac-12 just beating up on each other.
We also have LSU and Ole Miss this weekend. LSU is a 2.5-point favorite. This one, I'm really excited to watch. I don't know what's going to happen. And then finally, the 7:30 game, Duke and Notre Dame. If Notre Dame loses, you will all never see me again.
I think Notre Dame wins, but Riley Leonard, I love you.